started, shall we? Today we're going to learn about sowing, how to sow seeds, what the principles of sowing seeds are, what to sow for this time of year, and care of seedlings. Then we're going to show how to plant out in raised beds or in the garden. We're going to show you how to look after them afterwards with pests and diseases as well. And if there's anything else you need, just write some stuff down. We have a lot of brochures that should have been on your seat, and hopefully they're not all wet. But there's vegetable brochures, there's a calendar on when to sow things, and so on. So they're quite valuable and useful information there. So have a good look at those when you get a chance.
The calendar, because that's the first question. That's Odering to throughout New Zealand, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it was. We've just shut down a branch in Palmerston North because it was not going so well for us. So, yeah.
So the time to sow is not just for the South Island, it's basically the whole country. Pretty much. But mostly the South Island because that's where I come from. Oh, good.
Yeah. So as far as that goes, most things, if it survives in the south, it's certainly going to survive in the north. There might be a difference of maybe about 3-4 weeks for a lot of crops, but there's not, maybe, in fact, when I first started doing the seed sowing regimes for Havelock North, we're about a month behind, but never more than that. So as a rule of thumb, about a month, if anything, for Auckland or further south. So what I'll do first of all, if you're nice and comfy, I'll start going with what you can sow now and what is coming up for sowing. And I'll also talk a bit about my own garden because I'm 64 now and I have my own garden. I've had my own garden for a long, long time. And rocket, who likes rocket? You know you can grow that all year round? Did you know that? You can, all year round. I've had it growing in my, I was going to bring it in this morning actually. I've had mine growing in a big, big bucket all winter long and it didn't get any sun. And it's still doing really, really well. Did you see that all right, Dallas? Okay. Peas, there's 3 main types you can grow. Your easy peasy, your sugar snap, and your snow pea. And that can be grown from about July onwards, so that any time now is great. You usually cut that out a month before the longest day. But that can be grown as frost hardy, and it can be grown any time now. So you'll need to probably put a trellis for it to grow up or to support it. But it's quite a tough little veggie. Broccoli, wonder veggie. Good for men's prostate, if you've got one. Okay, so excellent for, of course, vitamins, minerals. It's also commonly known as green sprouting broccoli because once you take the head off, it will sprout from underneath, a bit like a broccolini, and you can take those if you want, but you do get a much reduced yield off that if you do. Just bear in mind, we grow 3 different types of broccoli, but we call it just all year round broccoli. We have a winter, a spring and a summer one going into then. Of course in the summertime you've got to watch for cabbage moth. There's diatomaceous earth that you can put on that which caterpillars don't like, and also there are stuff that makes it look a bit unsightly. Of course broccoli's faster to harvest than cauliflower, which I'm going to talk about next, because it's it is a lot faster. Always plant your brassicas, which is these, collie, broccoli, Brussels sprouts and so on with lime. Because Cabbage, yep, they're all part of the brassica family. So plant those with lime because it does 2 things. It prevents clubroot happening in the soil, and it also prevents them from bolting to seed, especially if they come under any sort of stress. So if you are cultivating around any brassicas, make sure you don't knock the roots too much because it can cause them to bolt to seed if you're not careful.
So the lime, you just sprinkling that on top.
So you just asked about lime, sorry?
Yeah, are you sprinkling that on the top of the soil?
Yes, I'll show you how we do that soon. Yep. Cauliflower, of course, is white sprouting broccoli. That's what it's commonly known as. And of course, in the winter time with my curds, as they came up ready, I got some of the leaves and broke them over the top to stop them from the frost from damaging them. And in the summertime, if they start going purple, you break those leaves and put them over the top again to stop them from getting sunburnt. Cauliflower, of course, is a lot longer. It's probably one of the longer veggies to harvest, but it's also a lot more expensive to buy. So you put broccoli and cauliflower at the same time. Your broccoli always come ready at least probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks before your cauliflower. We grow 3 different types of cauliflower. So the right one for the right type of season, we just call it all season. Cabbage county green. I haven't had much luck with that this winter because I've grown broccoli and cauliflower all winter. With my cabbages, they haven't gone so well. But I grow mine really close together. I grow mine, see in this, you might not be able to, you see that little crate down there? Oh, you have a look when you get a chance. But I grow about 5 or 6 in a bulb crate in my garden, around my garden. We'll show that later on. Spring onion, also known as bunching onions, can be grown from there on, right the way through. Really good in salads, exceptionally good for you, and really quite a tough little plant. Silver beet, one of the mainstays, very high in iron, and did you know 40% of all young ladies in New Zealand are iron deficient? So it's if you are vegetarian or whatever, have lots and lots of that. Okay, so it's very, very good. And in the silver beet family, there's also spinach, again, very good. All vegetables like full sun. So if you are growing it, plant it in full sun as much as you can. I have grown spinach baby leaf all through the winter again successfully without sun though, so yeah, it seems to have gone exceptionally well. Celery, a water-loving plant. Who wants to be on a diet? There is 0 calories in this, so you can live on that. It might make you pretty ratty, but can you still hear me all right down the back? Okay. With celery, of course, it can get a disease called rust, so you have to watch out for that rust. And there is a recipe you can spray with baking soda for rust on celery and so on. Or there is a product called Nature's Way you can use as well. And I've been doing trials on Nature's Way, and it's working exceptionally well. It's a good product. But celery, if you're growing celery or parsley through the winter months, it might tend to bolt in the spring, so you might have to replant. As I said, it's a big feeder of water and NPK or food. Parsley, of course, really good in chicken, fish dishes, and it's a cousin of Italian parsley. And again, I've grown that all winter round, all through the winter months, especially the Italian parsley. But I like Mediterranean cooking with tomatoes, fish, and that sort of thing. And Italian parsley is by far one of the better ones. And we should probably look at that in packs. Onions, good time to plant it right now, right through spring. This is Pukekohe, which is your brown one, which is pungent. And also we grow the Californian, which is twice as popular as this one. But the onions sell exceptionally well. With the red onion, you can do that a lot later than this one here. Yeah. Lettuces. Who had problems with lettuces? Yeah, I had problems with lettuces last summer. So the lettuces are one of those sort of cool-loving sort of crops. And in the summertime, this is like a drum type or an iceberg type. What I did is I planted mine in full sun, and when it got watered, the sun baked that and steamed it and turned it botrytis. It's a horrible thing. So put them in a shady spot in the summertime. If you're having trouble germinating lettuce, it's usually because you're germinating in full sun. They like a polystyrene tray over them to germinate in the summertime. Keep them out of the sun when you're germinating if you possibly can. But lettuce, of course, is a mainstay of salads. There's all different types. Your cos lettuce, which is an upright. There's your loose leaf lettuces. And I like the one Drunken Woman. That's a really nice one. Okay, so I've sown that today. So. But again, lettuces are one of those sort of crops. I prefer them out of the sun, and more of a shady, loving sort of veggie. And with lettuces, of course, you have to watch out for slugs, snails. Don't plant them too deep because where I'll talk about this later on if we can. Where the roots finish and the first leaves start, there's very little gap there. So a lot of people lose them because they plant them too deep, and that crown covers over with soil and they get botrytis. Radishes, we're talking about root crops now. That can be grown all year round. Somebody told me we did that last workshop on the 31st of May. There's radishes down here which I planted then in tapes. And they were just put straight outside, and they've done really, really well all through winter. So radishes, like a peppery taste, really good on salads, quite easy to grow. You like radish? Oh, good, yeah, I don't. I just don't like them. Red beet, again, good source of it's a good antioxidant, can be grown all year round. The biggest problem with all root crops is you need to make sure they've got a deep root run for them to grow. Things like your red beet, your carrots, your parsnip, if they hit a pan in the ground, you haven't dug deep enough and cultivated deep enough, you won't have a good run with them. I tried some red beet, but I'm embarrassed to say, I let them get overgrown with weeds and they didn't do very well this year. So it was stinging nettle actually, strangely enough. I don't know why we did that, but anyway, so I didn't have a good result with that, but they are very good, of course, in salads, hamburgers, good antioxidant. They can be just cooked. You do them just cooked, don't you? Just oh, you roast them, yeah. There's two different types. There's your globe ones, which is this one here. There's also your cylindrical one, which is that one there. There's two different types you can get. Carrots, good time to put carrots in now, because of course if you put them early crop, you don't get so many problems with the carrot fly. Because the carrot fly, if you do put them in a later season, put them in a raised bed if you possibly can, because that carrot fly gets up quite high. So you need to have it up off the ground about sort of that high in a raised bed if you're doing them in summertime, if you possibly can. And again, as I said before, make a nice deep root run with your fork so that if they hit a pan in the ground, they will stop and you'll think, oh, they're looking good because they're nice and round. You pull them up about that big. Yes?
Can you transplant carrots?
Not very well. Thanks for that. Can you transplant carrots? I've found most root crops like we put where they're going to grow and stay where they're going to grow until you harvest them. There was apparently some that we were growing up in the North Island, but I never grew them down here because I've always found if you try to disturb them too much, they will just not do very well. Best to put them where they're going to go right from the start. So carrots are one of those crops. Really, really good to do. A mainstay of the vegetable crop. Vegetable crops.
Can you grow them with garlic?
Carrots with garlic? I don't see why not. I haven't tried that yet, but I certainly don't see why not. But yeah, try it. What I say is try it. You know, nothing ventured, nothing gained, because I do a lot of things like that. Parsnip. Parsnip is sown from around about late September, October onwards. And the thing with carrot and parsnip, if you have weeds come up in them, a lot of people have problems with germinating parsnip because they dry up as they're germinating. If you are doing parsnips or carrots, I think they come in tapes, which is carrot tapes here, that sort of thing. They've got little tapes on them. But if you do a parsnip, put a plank of wood over the top of it. A gardener told me this. Put a plank of wood over the top of it, and that keeps the moisture in until they germinate. Then you take the plank of wood off. Okay, so and the other thing with those, if you have a problem with weeds, you can use kerosene over the tops of carrots and parsnips to kill the weeds before they get too big. If you have a problem in the ground, and then the kerosene will just dissipate. It won't affect the taste of them or anything like that because they're both members of the Umbelaceae family. So that's easy done. These are the later crops anyway now. Corn, I wouldn't sow them just yet, a bit too early. I'd start looking at those from around about late or, well, mid-September if it's for the home garden. Of course, with corn, it needs to be planted in a box so it gets plenty of pollination to let them grow. And this sort of corn that we grow, and most of the corns that you buy today, if you can freeze them, they don't get starchy like some of the older ones. So corn is really quite a nice crop to grow. Need a bit of room for that though. It's about 190 days to grow. All right, two there. Leeks. I've had problems with growing leeks. Who's had problems growing leeks? Yeah, I think they're such a long crop, and they like a nice deep root run too. So with leeks, I've got musselburry here. That's an old one. We're actually growing one this year, which is supposed to be an all year round one. So we're just trying that to see how it goes. But leeks usually start off just probably about another month's time or so, or a bit later. But leeks are a wonderful crop for spicing up your food, of course. Spread them thinly in rows about 30 centimetres apart because they do put on a bit of growth. But that's more of a winter harvest veggie. I've got beans here. We're doing the broad bean through the winter months, and we start the tenderloin ones when the soil temperature gets up above 10 degrees, probably around about end of September. Actually, we grow them a bit earlier than that. We start growing them early September. We sell them around about the end of September. So, but you know, your scarlet runners, your fardenloses, and so on. Again, a very good source of iron. Good to do. Courgette green, we sow those a bit later as well. Most of the cucurbits because they're highly frost tender. A lot of people have problems with courgettes. Often when they come up, they don't stake them in the garden, and that stem is very, very soft when it's first comes up. So you need to stake your courgettes so they don't flopper in the wind, because that's how most people lose them. So courgettes are one of those heat-loving sort of crops. They can get mildew on the leaves. Don't worry about it too much. But if you do want to, there's baking soda and dishwashing liquid little spray you can do. And the same for aphids. I think it uses 50 mils of vinegar per litre of water for aphids. But with these here, as the crop gets later and later, like around about March, you can take those flowers off. Otherwise, botrytis will come up the fruit and can kill them off. And take some of those leaves off around the fruits later on, so it helps ripen them up. Corn, we've done that. Now we're going to talk about a couple of specialised crops now. Peppers. I get my peppers underway now. And the reason for that is that Christchurch has such a short window for growing peppers, eggplant, tomatoes, and a couple others too. So with all the peppers, I get those underway now, and we're going to talk about that very shortly. But you've got different types of peppers. You've got your mild ones, which are your block or your bell-shaped ones, and that's like your Marbell types and so on. They're usually nice and mild, very nice and good to eat in salads and so on. Very high source of vitamin C, and it's a higher source of vitamin C than kiwi fruit, I think. As a pepper grows, don't forget to take this crown fruit out in the middle. Can you see that? All right. That's it there. The crown fruit comes in the middle. You need to take that out first of all. Otherwise, the plant will put all the energy into that instead of ripening up at the end here. When they're grown in your garden, you make sure you got them up against a nice concrete wall, block wall, so they get the heat off that wall. With mine, I've got a piece of weed matting, and I put it at the back of it so it keeps it nice, so it helps with the heat. If you can, put it in a black pot. If you're growing in a pot, if you're planting it in the ground, make sure you've got a good soil with it, because it's really important. You need at least 10 litre pot if you're growing in a pot for peppers as well.
Are they better in a greenhouse or
Always in a greenhouse. They just love so much heat, peppers. But of course, all heat-loving sort of crops seem to like, aphids like them as well, and all the bugs like them as well. So we'll talk about that if we get a chance later on. Your chilies, I'll talk about chili. Bird's eye is one of our hottest ones. All your hot peppers need more heat to grow. So if you are growing a heat-loving sort of pepper, get it underway nice and early, and you need to keep it around about 22 degrees all the time. Most of your peppers, your tomatoes and so on, need 22 degrees to germinate. What you need to do is look at where they come from, which is tropical South America, same as potatoes, these, and the eggplant I think comes from Africa, and it's hot there too. So especially the top of Africa. So always look where things are growing to give them the conditions that they need. And with these, don't forget you grow them 6 months out of their proper time. So you need to, if you're getting underway with them, do it soon. This ugly looking thing here is Carolina Reaper, and that's probably the hottest one we do. So I had some kids come around once, and they actually took some and were showing off to the girls, and I had to lead them to the milk. So that it was really, really hot. They didn't realise what they're doing. Silly boys. I put Brussels sprouts in here. Bit early yet, in my opinion. I see we've got Brussels sprouts here, but they're from around about sort of mid to late August right through to January. The problem with those, if you get them early, is they get really high, but they get decimated by white moth, the white cabbage moth. So you'd have to keep them out. If you grow them later, they'll have a shorter stem. So if you want to grow them now, my son calls it the devil's veggie. Okay. He said, I think he's going to do me with something wrong with bringing them up, making them eat them when they're kids. Of course, good for your stomach. I've even got devil's veggie written on the back of it. So the longer you grow them, the higher the stems get, and then they do their sprouting up. We're going to talk about tomatoes a bit today. We're talking grafted tomatoes. If I get a chance to talk about this, we're doing a workshop on that very soon. So tomatoes, you can get them underway now, but you've got to decide where you're going to plant them. If you've got a glass house, great. If you've got a microclimate around your house, that's fine too, but they will need a microclimate, because mine I plant out in September, about mid-September, and I've got a very good spot to put them. If you want to find out where your microclimate is, pick a night there's a really cold frost, and then you'll see little patches where frosts are, and look at those places where they aren't, and that's your microclimate in your place. And you need that for growing some of these heat-loving sort of crops. So tomatoes are one of those sort of crops that you need to get underway real soon too. That's a grafted one, and I think we're doing about 8 different types of grafted this year. Eggplant, very long to get established, and of course bugs love them, so there's a regime to use for that. For grafted tomatoes, eggplants, I always use neem granules. In fact, I use neem granules around every veggie. And the sooner you get your neem granules around after you plant your veggies, it'll keep those bugs off all year round. Yes?
What about the neem oil?
Big pardon?
What about the neem oil?
Yes, neem oil is good too, but some people say you can use it on edibles, and some people say you can't. I don't see why you can't. Do you know, Olivia? I think...
I've only used it on brassicas because that keeps the butterflies away. Something amazing.
I think you can. If you give us your name, I'll just check that, yeah?
Yeah, you can.
You can use it on neem oil, because some people have told me you can't, and some people have said you can.
I'm not dead yet anyway.
No, you look pretty good to me, actually.
I think it says on the label that you can.
It does it? Okay, right.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, if you can do it, because it is one of those mild type of things that, certainly the neem granules, I use these all the time. I put them around all my brassicas, all my lettuces, everything, and I never seem to have any problems. But eggplant, of course, is one of those things you need to get underway real soon. Full sun, very good mix like our patio and basket mix, or fruit and veggie mix is good too. But this year I'm actually getting a tomato mix bag made up, which should be available, and also a strawberry mix made up, which is going to be available by the end of August. So, and we've got the trials underway with it. The good thing about being a nursery and a garden centre is we grow it, and we know it's good, and we keep adjusting our soil so it's got the best. I put trials down with other people's products as well, and ours always comes out the best. Okay, which I'll talk about in a sec. Okay, so your eggplants. I don't know why I've got courgettes again. Oh, tomato. I've done that again because this tomato that we're going to show you about is just a normal tomato. That's just a normal tomato. And I'm going to show you the difference of those between that and grafted one very soon. Okay, so let's put that to one side. And the reason why we're doing a tomato and a strawberry mix is because people come and they say, I've got a tomato, so it's got to go in a tomato mix. So the tomato mix is going to be our shrub and tub mix with a bit of extra gypsum in, because gypsum is high in calcium, which prevents a bit of blossom end rot, especially early season. But blossom end rot can often be caused by sort of cold start to the season, physiological problems with watering, especially if you don't keep them watered properly and when they're setting their fruit. And it can also be caused by ventilation as well. So we're taking a lot of that risk out by putting a bit more calcium in there to prevent that from happening. With our strawberry mix, it's going to be our bedding plant mix, which is going to have a bit of extra other stuff in there as well. So we've got the trials down, we're doing that now. I just want to quickly show you these. These are 2 trials I did. This is just compost. So I've been doing a lot of work with our supplier to get our compost mix a lot better. And compost, I've always said compost is really used for to change the structure of your soil, to improve the structure of the soil. But I've had good results with it now, doing with the changes that they've made with it, and so it's doing exceptionally well. You can use, for brassicas, most of your run of vegetables, you can use compost, but if you do use compost, this here is really important. This is a rapid replenish called Tribon. It's a 4-month fertiliser, and it starts, you can see the result in about 3 weeks if you use it. So if they start going yellow, and you can tell if a plant's deficient because the bottom leaves start going yellow, you put a sprinkle of that around it, and it'll see it right through to the end of the season. Because a lot of people say they can't afford those real common, the good quality mixes, such as a shrub and tub and so on. If you can't, your compost will grow veggie, like your brassicas, exceptionally well.
You know,
But
if
you need
you're
that.
putting that on,
Beg your pardon?
if you're putting that on and you've already put the neem granules,
Yes.
does that matter?
No, doesn't matter at all.
You don't have to put more
No,
granules.
no. So for argument's sake, did I leave the tribe one over there? Can you just have a quick squiz?
Sorry.
So basically, that's happy. If I look at that, that's a happy plant, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know when a plant's happy and you know when a plant's sad. No? Is that bone flower? Okay. Oh, where'll I leave it? Here it is. So if that was, you can actually grow a veggie in anything. That's in a bucket. What's that, 10-litre bucket? I think it's a 10-litre bucket. You can grow them in bulb crates, you can grow them anywhere. And if you had a problem with that, I'd put probably, 2 teaspoons, and just sprinkle it around like that. And that'll be enough to see it through the end of its harvest. This stuff here releases on top of the soil. It's 96% efficient with nitrogen, most nitrogen.
So what is that you just put it?
Tribon.
Oh,
That's Tribon. I've been growing in that since I was 26 years old. So I really recommend it. And you can leave it on the soil, but because when we breathe in air, we're breathing 70% nitrogen and 30% oxygen. So most nitrogens and most feeds want to go straight into the air. This one will stay on the soil. You can dig it in as well if you want, and it's quite happy either way.
So your tribon is your nutrients, your neem is then just a preventative for...
Your neem is your preventative against insects, bugs and so on. Thrip, psyllids, aphids, whitefly, all that sort of thing. If you have a glass house, actually I'm getting a bit carried away. I'm losing track, but if you have a glass house, who has problems with whiteflies in glass houses? You do? I use, and you're not going to believe this, I use cat repellent. It's called naproxen. It's one of Wally Richards. He actually said, why don't you try that? And so I did. And we use it with our swan plants. Problem is we can't spray our swan plants, otherwise monarch butterflies aren't going to get onto them. So what we do is we use a little wee bottle, and we put naproxen or cat repellent in there, and we put them probably about every metre or so apart, and that stops aphids from getting onto them. It stops caterpillars from laying on them. It doesn't damage the plant at all. It masks the plant scent from the insects, so it leaves them alone. And then later on, of course, when you want the monarch butterflies to come on them, you take the cat repellent away, and then boom, they go onto them straight away. Good results on whitefly in my glass houses. Good results for tomatoes with whitefly. So it's been really, really good. And if you ask if we've got some, no, we haven't. I went to get some, but I couldn't find any because I've been selling it so much through my talks to the Canterbury Horticultural Society, it just seems to have gone. People want to sterilise their greenhouses. I've been doing trials on this. This is Aunt Daisy's. Remember Aunt Daisy? Yeah. She didn't do it. Cleaners Warehouse does it. But I want to start selling it in their branches. We've done tests on that with sterilising of tools, seed trays. It's a great antifungus, a great antibacterial, and it kills moss and algae and lichen in glasshouses as well. Not so much as soil sterilant, but they brought this up to, because now Jay's fluid you can't get, so that's probably the next best thing. I'm trying to get it stocked in our shops very, very soon. Okay, so seed sowing. Cat repellent looks like that. You just put a little bit around and it just smells absolutely horrible. But it keeps bugs away. Here's my tomatoes last year. Can you beat that?
Straight out of the bag.
Sorry? Yes, it's grown straight in a shrub and tub bed. Yeah, and I'm going to talk about that in my tomato talk, but by that time we'll have the new tomato mix, hopefully. Oh, do you want to have a look at those? Yeah. I like one range.
That's what they said.
Okay. And the good thing about growing in bags like that, and that's where I put them for the season, but if I'm going to get a really cold night with really cold frost, I lift them up and put them just around the corner in the door. That's the other good thing about growing containers. But with a tomato, you need at least 25 litres to grow a tomato because it's such big feeders and such big water lovers. So that's how they start off, and that's how the other way is how they finish off. Right, I've got to get on to seed sowing. Legionnaire's disease is a real thing. So if you buy any soils, any sort of soilless media like seed raising mix or anything, try and use it all up within a period of time. Legionnaire's disease happens when somebody uses a little bit and they put it back in their shed, all wrapped up nice and tight, and then the spores come up and come out, and that's when you can have problems. So if you are opening it, I'm not going to worry about it here because this is freshly mixed. If you are, use a mask and open it well away from you in ventilated area if you can. This is our seed raising mix here. Beautiful mix. It's peat and fine bark, and with a few fertilisers as well. Now, when you come to sow seeds, you can sow them in either a pack, like that, a plug tray, like that. These are plugs. Or you can sow them in just about anything, so long as you've got a nice clean tray, good drainage at the bottom, and so you're going to be able to water that seedling and that water's going to run away, so it's not going to be sitting in water. These are also used quite commonly too. This is a little peat pellet, and you put that in water and it expands up to about that high, and you can plant a wee seedling in there. How much are they? Lives, do you know?
Oh, not now, no.
Okay,
At
right.
least $1,000 each, I think.
Okay. Sounds like us. No, it doesn't. Okay, excuse me a second. Vodka, bloody marvellous. So I'm going to sow in a little pack like this, a little punnet, because I don't need a lot of. Can you see that? Okay, if I do that right there, because I know a lot of you can't see. Just have a look on the screen. So start with our seed raising mix. Put in your tray like so. Sometimes you want a clod of peat in there. Just break that up if you need to, because we do use peat. We use peat because it's very good quality stuff, and peat helps keep the water moisture in. And we used to use cocoa fibre, but cocoa fibre, we had a couple of bad batches that had a whole lot of sodium or salt in it from where it came from, so we had a few problems, so we went off that. Okay, once you put your soil in there, you firm it down. I use a wee piece of wood like this, and the principle always remains the same. Just firm it down, not too hard. You just want to make a nice little flat pan to sow your seeds on. You got that all right, Dallas, or not? Okay. You can use, if you wish, an envelope to dispense your seeds in. We used to sell seeds way in the 40s and 50s, and we still got the old packets left lying around. When I was a kid, I got my pay one of these packets, but it was much smaller. It was probably about that size there. That's right, yeah. And so you can use little seed dispensers. They're for sale, I think. I don't know how much they are, but it's quite cheap. But if you're going to be doing seed sowing, it's a really, really great thing to have your own stuff. Put it all aside. Make sure it's yours, and the grandkids don't play with it because they bugger everything up anyway. So these are really quite good for dispensing. You don't have to. You don't dump them all the seed in one place. So you select what you want. I'll use this one here. There's all different holes that you have for sowing what you want to do. This is Drunken Woman, because I like Drunken Woman. The seed, that is. And you start in one area. I've just got a bit of an angle, but you just watch those seeds just come off the tip of your dispenser. So it's nice and easily done. Well, it's probably enough seed to last me for a season. But did you see that all right? Yeah. Good. And then you spin that round, and then you close it up. Now, the biggest killer of seed is humidity. So once you finish sowing your seeds, put them back in a packet and wrap them up really nice and tight. This is where I got it from, for this thing here, because we go through a lot of seed, as you can see. So this has got a seal thing on it, but if it didn't, if it was one of these, just an open packet like that, you close them up like that, like that, like that, and then you put a rubber band around it. If you don't do that, that seed will only last a fraction of the life that it should. Okay, and you label it, of course, see what it is. Okay, so you got your seed, and now what I do now is we want to firm that down, because on some of your big seeds, if you don't firm that into the soil, what will happen is the radicle, which is a root, will come out first, and then it'll push that seed across the top of the soil, and it will run out of energy, and it will die. So what I do with all seeds is, unless it's begonias or very, very, very fine seed, I'll just firm those down. Just nice and gently firm it down like that. Okay, now last time I used a permanent marker, so I'll make sure I've got the right one this time. So when you're sowing seeds, you sow them on the top, like so, and then you firm them down. Oopsie, sorry. So you firm them down like that. And then when you cover your seeds, you want to cover them twice the thickness of that. So it's like that, and like that again. So you want to cover them to there. So it's twice the thickness of that. If you cover them too much, that seed is going to expend so much energy, it's going to get to there, that's going to run out of energy and it's going to die. If you don't put enough cover on them, you put it down to about there, they'll just grow across the top of the soil, or the sun could kill them. So it's important to get your amount of light that you need, just the right amount of light and the right amount of cover on them to germinate them. We do sell these here. If you're going to be serious about it, grab one. I don't know how much they are. Only $30. You can use the kitchen colander as well if you want to, but they're not as good as this. I'm going to use this one here because this is the one in the nursery. And you put a bit of soil in there. So, and I always sort of keep control at this end of the sieve, so it's like that. And when you do it, you look at the corners of your tray, and that gives you an indicator on how much soil's going on. Also, these are nice white seeds, so it gives you an easy, it's a good marker on how much soil you're putting on. So I start off on the top corner. Until those seeds disappear, and a wee bit more. That's years and years of experience. That's really great right there. Did you get that? Good. That is. I used to do this every Sunday for about 20 years. Right.
Which is the biggest one? Because the one you buy in the shop's a lot bigger holes compared to that one.
Thank you. Yes, this lady said the holes on that, the one you buy in the shop is a lot bigger. I spoke to our dry goods manager the other day and I said, those holes are too big in my opinion. Thanks for asking, actually.
Yes,
That's
sorry.
right. Because with seeds, especially fine seeds, you don't need too much soil coming out at one particular time. I reckon that's right. That's what it should be. So I agree with you. Well done. Yeah.
Good, because I've got one of those big ones.
Yeah, well, she said that they're all that way, and I said they shouldn't be. They should be smaller than that. This is great if you're doing cucumbers or pumpkins or something like that, but I'll try it anyway. Hang on, I'll do it. See how I get on. How are we going for time? Oh, if you are using this, make sure you don't get any seeds on that before you do your next tray. Because you're going to have to mix up a whole lot of seeds. I've done that before too, with a, like... Let's get it sorted again. You don't mind the same seed? I'll just do it. And you can direct it quite nicely where it's going to be going. Sometimes you do finish that, just scrap that off. I'll try it, see what happens. This is a really good seed. I did trials with all seed raising mixes as well. And guess who's the best? Yeah. Yeah. Even the CHS people said that. Is anybody here from the CHS? You are. Have you heard my talks before?
Yes.
You have? Oh, good. Yeah. I like to blow my own trumpet with it, don't I? Yeah. Okay, so start off here.
Ooh.
Yeah, you've got to be a lot more careful,
Yeah.
but yeah, it does do it all right. It takes a fraction of the time, but you've got to be careful. But again, as those seeds disappear, that's a good indicator it's about the right amount of soil. And then just take that off the top and label it. Right, these are lettuces. Don't forget your label, it's very important. There we go. Use a little plastic label or whatever label you want. I should have done this beforehand. How do you spell this? I know. Solomon. What's the date today? The 9th, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then you label it like that. That way you know what you did when you sowed it. And when you water it, use a watering can. You start watering it there to the side and you go across it like that. And then you stop and you start it again, water again. And then you make sure the water's right down the bottom, then it's usually done enough. You can use these here to germinate them. These are quite good. I think they're quite cheap too. I was speaking to Philip over here who's got one, haven't you? And the cat sits on it. Yeah. And we have these heat panels as well, which seems to work out really well. Don't forget with your tomatoes, peppers, eggplants, they need 22 degrees to germinate. So you need something like that in my opinion. Unless you've got a really hot kitchen, put it in your kitchen window or under, somewhere where it tries to be 25, we try to keep it 25 degrees. But again, when you're watering those, you need to water those probably about once a day or once every 2 days at the most. And make sure that water comes out the bottom of the tray.
What's the best way to water it? Like on watering can or sprays or?
Depends on how much you're doing. If you're in a nursery, you use a hose with one of those gardenia roses on it that goes really fine, or you can use a mist. But you're probably best. A watering can's pretty good for this sort of stuff. You only do 1 or 2 of. I was actually going to show you, but it makes a bit of a mess around here. So.
All those bottom top ones that go on the end of a bottle, you know those little ones that we have? Those little plastic roses?
Oh, okay.
They're brilliant to see.
Whatever you do, it needs to be not too heavy a droplet when it goes on. Otherwise you can. And also when you do water, make sure you're watering flat. If it's on an angle, it'll wash that soil off quite easily. you're not careful. Okay, now we're going to show you how to prick out. All right, if you've got soil left over, put it anywhere. Put it on your veggie garden or anything. Yeah.
When you say once a day, what time of day is best?
Thank you. The question is, what time of day should you water? Always first thing in the morning. Water first thing in the morning, because that does two things. One, it's when the plant wants to put on its growth, and it also wants to, it keeps bugs like damping off diseases and those sorts of things at bay, because it tends to dry out a week during the day. Try not to leave your seedlings wet at night. They like to be kept a bit drier at night.
If you've got seeds for garlics and raisins, the tuber seeds, that it says that you don't cover it, you just leave it on the top. Do you cover seeds?
Good point. This question is, would you cover petunia seeds and most things? In the nursery, we use a product called vermiculite, and it's quite expensive, but it holds water really, really well, and we germinate all our petunias as well with vermiculite. You can use soil, but you've got to make sure your cover is much more spot on those really small seeds. If you cover it too much, it'll tend to not germinate as well, or germinate very unevenly, but we use vermiculite for some of those things. Vermiculite is an expanded sort of ore, and when it's dry, it goes quite a white colour, but when it's wet, it's yellow. So it's quite an indicator on how wet your soil is. So vermiculite is really good. A lot more expensive, but it is a good product. We use it, tons of it over here. So, yeah.
So for the flowers and things?
Oh, no, it depends on the size of the seed. If it's fine seed, you can use a bit of vermiculite. If you're sowing begonias, I wouldn't use any cover at all. Anything that's very fine, I wouldn't use any cover. But otherwise, just a very fine cover of vermiculite. That's what we use over at petunias. Yeah. Okay. Right, pricking out. If we're going to prick out, I'm going to prick out into a tray like this. What do you actually got? See, razor mix.
It's under the tray.
Where?
Under that tray. Tray of plants there. The tray of plants at your feet.
Yeah.
It's underneath.
Oh! Oh, shit. I'm blind. I'm going to use seed raising mix because it's just as good for this. You can use a fruit and veggie mix or whatever. And what you do with this is you get that, put it in there. This is a plug. This is like a plug tray, like that over there. And the same sort of thing applies. The good thing about plug trays and containerised plants like those is you can wait for the roots to take up in the whole thing, and you can plant a bit later. Because most plants this time of year, plant them a lot bigger. Don't plant them too small, otherwise they'll get knocked around with aphids, slugs, snails, cats, dogs, hail. It gives them much more opportunity to grow if you plant them when they're much bigger. So I just firm that down like that. And I use a fork, which I haven't got. But you dig it very carefully out of here with a fork if you possibly can. And when you do this job, you need to make sure that soil is not too wet like it is now. But you need to have those roots come out mostly like that. And I'm holding it looks like I'm holding really, really hard, but I'm not. It's actually quite lightly. They're just cradled in my hands. And I usually tap them against something just to take that soil off. Place them down nice and gently. Pick them up by the cotyledon, which is this here, which is one of your first leaves that come out. This is the dibber, by the way. Really good. You can use a pen if you wish to, like that. But this is quite good. Make a hole. Make sure it's deep enough that you get that root right down. You just jiggle that down. Can you see that right, Dallas, or not? Jiggle that down. Firm it. I haven't got enough soil there. Firm it once this way and once that way, because all plants should be planted halfway up the stem. So there's your soil. There's your plant. If you have it too shallow, if you've got the roots up here, they're going to die with the sun. If you plant it down to here, it's going to die because soil and water are going to get in here. It's going to rot the centre of it out. So with all plants, you need to plant them. There's your roots, and there's your cotyledons, and you firm them down so it's halfway up the stem. Not that, not that. Got that?
Yeah.
Good. That's really, really important. Okay, when you do plant in, firm it in nicely so as it's nice and firmly placed in. If your roots are too long, it's much better to cut those roots back a wee bit because it can take that instead of bunching your roots up. If you bunch your roots up, that's going to put that plant under all sorts of stress. So those roots have got to go straight down, I learned this when I was 8 years old, would you believe?
I miss those days.
Yeah.
Doing hand pricking out on a commercial level.
Yeah. Actually, somebody take us home
Lunch
for
and
one.
daisies were my favourite. We'd do it all day for 8 hours.
Yeah. It's
But
so
we don't do any
therapeutic.
of that anymore.
Whatever you do, don't do this. See how many roots there are? Oh, actually, one's got a few roots
That
on
would
it.
have us sacked.
Yeah, they would have a sack, yeah. My dad said, these are more valuable in your life, and I believed him. So, that's what he used to say. Especially if you prick out. Yeah, so basically you dig that up, and very carefully... Oh, I should make a bit of mess. I forgot to get a fork. And you just tap them like that against something. And you'd be surprised, it doesn't do any damage, it just brings them out nicely. Put that straight down, make sure that jiggle it, that root down, feel it this way, and that way.
When do you know to take them from one size to the other?
How do you mean? Oh, in the trays?
Yeah.
Right, good point. If you leave them too long, what can happen, you'll damage the roots when you pull them out. And if you do, no matter how careful you are, if they're really rooted down so far, you're going to damage those roots. And that's the good thing about plug trays. So when we do our sowing in the nursery, we do them in plug trays like this. So basically you take it like that. Takes out the whole thing at once. So when those roots are down far enough, you can see the roots coming out the bottom, that's when it's ready to be done. It's a plug tray. That's so many things I want to talk about today. So
You're using a water but there.
Yeah.
I normally use a pen,
yes,
but is that better to use a wider one to give it more?
if you've got a bigger plant, use your wider one. If you've got a smaller plant, use your smaller one. If you, in this case here, you could use that, and you could even use a Sharpie like that. That would actually probably be more suited for that sort of plant. Okay. And then you water it again, you start again, go overside, overlap it several times, and somebody can take that home if they want it. And if they die, it's your fault. Okay, as your plant grows, and it'll grow to a good size.
We've got a nice young man down the back here that's been listening very carefully.
Yeah.
So I think he would like to take that home.
Yeah, sure you can. What's it called?
Oh, he just went to the toilet.
Okay, right.
That's a bit unfair.
So yeah, I can be like that. That's okay. No, you can have it. You can take it
So
home.
a future generation of gardeners is sitting in the back here.
As your plant grows, it will turn into something like this over here. Oh, I didn't get a drunken woman. I've got a brassica because that's what I was going past them today. So I'm going to show you what you do when you're planting in the open. How many people have got raised beds? Oh, most of you have. That's good because raised beds are really good because it keeps your plants out of the disease. You know, especially if you have high water levels or you've got problems with clayey soils or whatever. And how many people just grow in that open garden like this in the flat garden? Okay. All right, I'll show you both ways of doing things, but if you are growing in the open garden, you can mound your soil up a wee bit, so it keeps plants out of the water line a wee bit. But most people have got raised gardens, including myself. But you also can grow in bulb crates like this. This is my garlic this year. And somebody was asking about rust. I'm trying hydrogen peroxide on these against rust. And because I had rust last year really badly, yes.
When would you start putting that on?
Now.
Okay.
Yeah, because you might be getting those spores come already. The time to plant garlic is about the shortest day, but I did mine a month beforehand. I think I did mine in actually April, I think. It might have been about 6 weeks before the shortest day. Because I think in Christchurch they like getting away a bit early where you've got a bit of sunlight there. And I planted some in compost, which was an abject failure. So then I then I took them out of that and I planted them in fruit and veggie mix, which they're doing a lot better. Garlic needs a really, really good root, well-drained soil.
I planted mine straight into a bag of fruit and veggie mix.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I should have done, yes.
And just put them straight in that way.
Yep. So these are now being put in fruit and veggie mix, and I just sprinkled some Tribon on them because I want to keep them growing as well. But I did use some surrender on my garden, and I think it's what's caused some of these leaves to go a bit that way. So if you're using surrender to kill moss or algae, watch out you move all your plants out the way next time. I wasn't too much of a hurry. So who's had failures in the garden? Yes, but don't give up because you just keep trying and trying. You get better and better. Just got to change things around.
And we all learn from each other, right?
We do. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Right, can you turn around, Dallas? I'll just do this. Right, let's say for argument's sake you've got an open ground or a raised bed and you've grown your crops through the winter months or whatever you've done. What will happen in your bed there, you'll have skeletons of and eggs of insects or whatever around here. You might have fungal disease, fungal spores or bacteria diseases around. So what I do is I take off the first, I scrape a bit of that soil off and I put it in my compost bin, because yes, I do have a compost bin, works really well. So I take off that top layer of soil first. So I'm just using this real big shovel, I don't know why, because I've got nothing else. And then, as I said before, it's so important to give everything a good going over of lime. So this is just garden lime, nice and soft, and it's calcium carbonate, which of course is very high in calcium, and it does affect the pH, but most vegetables like a high pH. That compost up there has got a pH of 7.3, and so we want a high pH. So every time you plant brassicas or whatever, put a good generous splattering of lime on there, and I would put that on so that ground, you can just see the soil's disappearing. That's about a cubic metre, isn't it? Yeah, so it'd be about 3 handfuls per cubic metre. Put it wrong, because I love lime. It's good stuff. And the other thing you can use to improve to bring your calcium up is gypsum. That will give you calcium without affecting the pH. Now the other thing we want to do here is use some plant food. Excuse me, I'll just grab that. At the start of my growing season, which is now coming through into spring and summer, I use this product here, which is called Total Replenish. And if you're just doing 1 or 2 plants, just put a handful around each plant. But if you're doing a lot of veggies really close by, I would use about a handful per half square metre. So
instead of tripod, Joe?
yes. This stuff here, Total Replenish, has got enough food to last it right through the whole year, unless you're growing really, really sort of big leafy crops such as your brassicas. But that would last you almost through till around of January. Then when you plant it again after that, then you use Trial Bond if you need to, because that's a fast replenish, whereas this is a more constant replenish. This will last a lot longer. And then you dig that in. And run your fork right to the bottom. And if you've got clods, break those up. I'm only going to do a little bit here, because that way you can see how much lime I put on there as well. But you want to dig that right in. If you've got any clods, break those up. As I said before, if you've got root crops like carrots, parsnip, that sort of thing, it's so important you get that deep root run in there for those. And the length of that fork is about right. What is that? 300? 200? No, 250 mil? And then when you really start planting, I only use these, but you can grow these yourself. And it's a lot of fun doing your own veggies. But you grab them like that, run your fingers through. Can you see it right, Dallas? Run your fingers through. Tap it on the bum, they should come out like that. Look at those roots, nice and white. That's the way they should be. Put that in there because that shows you what you're planting, which is cauliflower all seasons in this case. And it's a good idea to label that so you know when you planted it. Now with most of our plants, instead of doing 6s, we do usually about 10s or 12s. Too many, probably. I just take those off, put them down like so. And with all brassicas, I put them about 250 to 300 mils apart. So basically, I make a hole with my hand. Again, get that right down. I firm it once this way and firm it that way. They need to be standing up nice and straight. Next one. Oh, you can stagger them if you wish, but it's better to put them in rows.
Why?
Good point. I'll tell you why. In a sec.
Just got to think of something.
Some of you always ask those sort of questions, don't they? I'm thinking about it now.
Or staggering something, that's why.
Sorry?
One of them was staggering, that's why.
Oh, yes. I'll tell you why I do mine this way. And that is that if you have a weed problem, especially if you've got open gardens, it's much easier to weed them with a push hoe in between the rows. If they're staggered, then you've got to watch out you don't knock those roots more. That's the reason why I put mine in straight rows. It does mean you have to use a bit more room, but it's much easier to weed in between if you've got them like that, in my opinion. And this is a torpedo hoe. It's a really, really small one, but this is grandfather's. And I've had it for all those years, so it's just worn right out now. And when you get them now, they're quite a bit bigger than that, but this is much a better size. And of course, if you are using a torpedo hoe against weeds, once you've done that, scrap those weeds off and get rid of them, because if it rains, they'll start growing again. So if you're doing that, just make sure you get rid of them. Now, those plants should be planted in a way that they're nice and firm. If the wind hits them, they're not going to bounce around. If you plant them too shallow, like that, they're just going to bounce around and they're going to damage those roots. So make sure you plant them, firm them in nicely so they're standing right up like little soldiers. I might just plant these as well. This hasn't got any stuff in it, but once that way, feel it nice and tight. Again, like that. You see it right, Dennis? Yep. That one's starting to flop, so I'm just picking it up and firm it in just a wee bit more. Great. You got that? Then you give that a really good water, and it should be away. Again, like this here, I've got my radish. Oh, you got that? Can you see that? This is so neat and little and petite. You can go right along the sides of the rows. Just tap that out like that. I obviously ran out of tape about here, but this one here is the same. And don't do what my daughter did. She was doing this. And I said, "What are you doing? Are you my daughter?" That was Lydia. That's for real. So again, around here, this is a torpedo hoe. Like that. You do it both ways. And that keeps it nice and then just, okay.
Are there any veggie crops that you shouldn't apply line
No, I don't think so. Does anybody know of any that you shouldn't apply lime for? I always use a generous helping of lime. Don't forget, our water in Christchurch has a pH of around about 7, but you want to have your every time you put a fertiliser into your garden, you're dragging your pH down. So with your lime, you bring that pH back up again. So I talked about pH in one of my talks I did a few years ago, which is really quite handy to know. Does anybody know what the pH of their soil is?
6.8.
Sorry?
6.8.
6.8.
Yeah.
So they'll grow vegetables quite well. But just if you have a 6.8 pH, you probably will need to put as much lime on.
Right.
Okay, because a lot of people have problems with their azaleas, camellias, rhododendrons, ericas, blueberries. It's usually because your pH is too high. Now, if you want to bring your pH down, the best way of doing that is putting peat in your ground, and that will bring your pH back down again. I want to sell a product called phosphorus acid, which is really, really good, but I just can't get anybody to do it for me at this point in time.
How do you know how much you get in your soil? How do you find out?
pH testers. There's some up there on the thing. There's actually, I wasn't going to mention pH, but thanks for that, because pH is so important, because it's for a plant. You can have all the food in the world in the soil, but unless your pH is acceptable to the plant, it won't be able to take that soil up. Your macronutrients and your micronutrients. And so your pH is so important. It's like us having sorry? It's like us having a gutsache and we're hungry and we're wasting away, but we've got gastro or whatever, and you can't take that food up. That's what it's like for the plant. Okay, quickly talk about a couple of things. And the last thing we're here, I want to sell. When you do plants like that, you've got to buy 6 or 10 or 8 or whatever. I want to bring in a system where we have all these sitting here in about 8 trays, and 1 tray of cabbage, 1 tray of collie, 1 tray of pak choy, 1 tray of spinach or whatever, and people just pick out what they want, like one of those, and maybe a cabbage or a collie or a broccoli. They put it in a 6-pack, like that, take it up to the till, and you get what you want. Who thinks that's a good idea?
Yes.
Right, look at that. Look at that.
When we do it, you have to buy them. This is about the third time.
I've just about got it ready now, okay? So hopefully it should be this one. Sorry? Yes, I know. To tell you the truth, once I did this is a tray I want to grow them because it's a nice big tray. But do you think I can do that? No, because there's always something wrong. So I'm going to have to do it until I get a proper thing that sews on the machine to sew one of these trays. Because that's what I want to put in one of these. Look at that. Look how strong that is.
Yeah.
And then
It used to be like that. I remember Dad going to the garden centre and they just used to pick out plants.
Whereabouts was that?
It was would have been here in Christchurch.
Yeah, it was us.
Because he would buy, I was wrapping up the newspaper.
I know. And look, the thing is with that is I'm going to bring it in again. I've got the okay to do it this year, see how we go. So this should be ready in hopefully a couple of weeks' time. I've just got the signage coming for it. But okay. Yeah.
I'm such a novice, so I might say something.
No, that's all right.
If you plant everything all at the same time, then surely it comes up all at the same time and you can eat it fast. Whereas if
True.
you came in and you bought maybe once every 2 weeks, then
Yes.
they would probably come out at different times.
That's true. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. The question was, if you grow them in a tray like that, so it's brassicas especially, or like any of those brassicas, they'll generally come already at the same time. Whereas if you do it this way, these will be sowing every week. So every week there'll be a different time for harvesting them. That's the other reason why we're doing that.
Well, I like the way your family did it, where like, you know, one of your daughters would grow cabbages and the other one would grow broccoli and the other one would grow whatever.
Yep.
And then they shared
Yeah,
vegetable.
yeah, that's true, but I never got any.
Well, they did.
I never got any out of it. I was going them vegetables, I never got any from them. So anyway, that's just the way things go. So that's what we're going to try this year.
So, Jules, what I brought you is the bottle top waterers, so you can show people what they
Oh, okay.
look like.
Okay, I haven't seen those.
They're so good. So especially for
Oh, okay.
seed germination, because the rows of them are so fine and they just fit on like Coca-Cola bottles or lemonade bottles or...
Okay, yeah, they're there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
So you put it in obviously a Coca-Cola bottle or something like that.
They
and
just screw on.
right, and then you just go...
Yeah. Quite a few. Once they bleed there. I bought you some total replenish. You ready?
Yeah.
Really nice.
This is Total Replenish. This is my own recipe. This, for 10 years, I've perfected all our soil mixes around here, and so I've done all the work on the soil mixes. So this is the main ingredients on everything that powers all our plants in the garden centre. Is this one here? Okay.
And then your vermiculite. Because people, if they're visual like me, they like to see what this stuff looks like.
It looks like gold, and it's as expensive as gold. So how much is it?
$10.99.
$10.99. But if you have a problem with germinating seedlings, try that. It's really, really good. If you
99 cents if you've got
Oh, yeah, why is everything 99 cents? Anyway, the thing is with that is if it's light coloured, it means it needs watering. If it's dark yellow, it means it's okay, you don't need to water it, so it's a good indicator. But that's vermiculite. We use it in the nursery as well, but we don't pay $10 a bag for it. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You can just mix it with compost for seed raising, can't you?
You can mix this with seed raising mix and yes, you can. You can with soilless medias. You can use perlite, humus, all sorts of things you can mix into your soil mix to open it up a bit to give it more airful porosity. It's called when you've got more air molecules around it. And same with water holding capacity. It does open up the mix so you can get a bit more water running through it as well.
What's the difference between the garden replenish and the total replenish?
Garden replenish. What's the difference between garden replenish and total replenish? Garden replenish finishes off after about a month and a half, so it's very, very quick acting. Very quick to dissipate. Tri-bond lasts for 4 months, and I've even found it lasting longer than that. If you want to grow organically, thanks for mentioning that. This is probably one of the better organic fertilisers. It's ocean fert. It's quite hard little pellets, but that is, I've done trials with that. It works pretty well. And of course, Tri-bond Total Replenish will last a year because that releases at 20 degrees for a certain period of time. But in the winter time, your soil never gets above 20 degrees. So what it does, it stops releasing NPK when your plants don't need it, and then the springtime and the summertime it opens up so your plants get a lot more food. Yes.
Can you over-fertilise?
Yes, you can. If you good question. If you over-fertilise a plant, what will happen, especially if it's cold like this time of year, what will happen is you'll get a toxicity come up on the tips of your plants. If it's a deficiency, it'll be at the bottom of your plant, generally. So with this time of year, if you had a lot of food in there and it was cold and this didn't said, no, I don't want to grow, it's going to show distress by these tips becoming quite yellow. So you have to be careful you don't overdo it. What could you?
When you're growing in containers like this, where you've got your broccoli and your,
Yep.
do you have to keep replenishing that, or is it?
Yes, you do. And how I do it is this. I use total replenish, and I just do this. Not total replenish, tri-bond, sorry. That's what you do. You just water it in, and it will feed and water for 4 months. That's what's really good about this.
Is it the same for, flowers?
Yes, total tri-bond, this stuff here. I use it on my house plants at home. I use it on my citrus. I use it on every single plant in my garden. It's exceptionally good, and it's has anybody tried this?
Yeah.
How do you find it?
Much healthier plants.
Yes, much healthier plants. Really, really good. We've got it in the shop there. I don't push anything unless I believe in it, and I do believe in this.
Hanging baskets, it would be good.
Yes, hanging baskets, exceptionally good because you're not digging up your soil. You just sprinkle it on top of the plant, and if you are putting it on sprinkle on top of the plant, make sure you water it off the leaves. Once a month, probably. Yep. Especially in the heat of the summertime when that basket's running out of food, especially tomatoes, because tomatoes are big feeders. If you've got a basket with a tomato in it, what will happen is that will run out of food quite early. So you just use your tri-bond, sprinkle it on, and it keeps feeding it all for the whole season.
What I've been using is the Osmocote.
Osmocote. Yes, Osmocote's a controlled release fertiliser, so Osmocote has to be placed in the soil because it's got to imbibe water before it releases it out to the plant.
So then I put that on top.
Yes, you put tri-bond on top. Yeah. Strawberries too, yes.
You said at the beginning you wanted to talk about tomatoes if you had time.
Yeah.
Have you got time?
Have I got time?
Not really.
Oh, do it quickly.
But what we do is we make Julia go to the shop, and then we encourage everyone to hover around him like flies, and he loves that. So if you have like more specific questions, just tie him down for a good couple of hours.
I could have explained it by now. What I do with mine at home, I get it like that. I cut that off like so. This will be a tomato bag now from mid-August, September. And what you want to do is create a reservoir like that. Okay, so you want to create a reservoir because tomatoes are such big water users. You want to be able to fill it up with water and it sits there. It drains right the way through. Then I put holes 50 mils from the bottom. And that does two things. That creates a reservoir at the bottom of the bag, so that fills up with water, and the roots will take that up into the plant. Then I grab my tomato. It's quite wet down this one. And if it's not a grafted one, plant it quite deep. That way you get more roots into the soil and it'll put on more growth. Because it will work with a non-grafted one. If it's a grafted one, you have to keep that graft above the soil. And then you plant that.
And you can plant bush tomatoes in there like, Russian red or...
Yes,
lime.
yes, yep. This mix here is a powerhouse of fertiliser.
You can keep colonies from-
Yep.
Julian, I see you didn't
I'm sure.
take out the roots.
No.
Is that because it was going into soft soil to begin with?
It's because tomato roots are so vigorous, they'll go straight through that anyway. And then I leave that like that until around about second week in December. And by that time the roots will be right down the bottom, they would have run out of food. And then I use Wally's Secret tomato food, and I use that for the rest of the growing season. And that's how you get tomatoes like mine. Like that.
If you haven't seen it before,
You see that? You see that? You feel that?
that poster goes everywhere.
That
let me
does.
tell you.
I even sleep with this poster. But that's how I do my tomatoes at home. But it's going to be a tomato mix and it's going to be even better than this one. But I have done it in a shrub tub. I've gone to a tomato bag because people say, no, I'm not going to plant my tomato in anything except a tomato mix. But that's the best mix that we have.
until you have tomato bits.
Well, since I started, I'll just say one more thing. Strawberries. Good time to plant strawberries. You've got your short day types, which are your Camarosa and your Petaluma, and they will fruit and flower from now right through to your longest day. And then you've got your ever-bearing types, or your day neutral ones, such as Monterey and Albion, and they will fruit and flower from around about October right the way through to April, May. And what do I like the best? Excuse me. What do I like the best? I like Albion. Albion's a really juicy, fat strawberry, and it goes. I had a really good run with that last year in my garden. In fact, I think you need about 8 strawberries per person, and you do sort of, if you want to do right the way through, you do a Camarosa first, because Camarosa is best out of the short day ones, and the Albion is a long day. 2/3 Albion to 1/3 Camarosa. How are we going for time? Oh gosh, we're done.
We're done.
We're done. Okay.
We're done.
Just a couple of quick questions. Yes, down there.
What seeds are good to go straight into the garden?
What seeds are good to go straight in the garden? Your big seeds, like your beans, are good straight in the garden. You can put the peas can go straight in the garden, so long as you've got a really nice pliable soil. It's not too clayey or anything like that. But remember, this time of year you're up against a lot of elements such as frost, slugs, snails, birds. Everything's hungry. So, excuse me, you have to watch out for those sort of pests and diseases when you do plant. But your big seeds generally grow faster. Sorry?
You put them in those peat pots and just plant those pots directly.
True, you can. But you're much better if you can to grow them on first and then plant them out. Okay, any other questions? One more quickly. Yes, sir.
What do you think about soaking seeds before planting them out?
You're talking about conditioning seeds before you plant them out. Generally, you don't need to. People were saying about parsnips, but I asked our supplier and they said no, all that sort of conditioning's been done with them before we get them. So they say. So with parsnips, again, the main reason why people lose parsnips is because they might have covered them too much, or they have not kept them moist enough where they're germinating in the ground. Those sorts of things. That's more the reason why you're going to get that. But if you are sowing seeds, do a bit of research on what you're sowing, find out where they come from, give them those sort of conditions, and the most important thing I've been talking about all today, give them the right soil. From Odering's Nurseries, yeah. Right.